To add to that, the younger generation, I think the question is not if a bank will lose. I think it's a yes if you don't offer anything in that space. And the question, everybody's free to have their opinion on crypto as of now, right? And I know there are different opinions to that topic, but where we all should agree, and that's a fact, is there will be a generational shift in wealth over the next 15 years, amounting to $80 trillion US.
Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CYPRX video banger. In today's video, buckle up your seatbelts because we are going to be listening to some industry-leading experts from the likes of Franklin Templeton, Fidelity, Key Rock, telling you all that all of the world's assets are starting to migrate on chain. Not only are we going to be listening to these industry-leading experts, but we're also going to be going over some groundbreaking fundamentals showing you all that this is taking place right now in the moment on networks and ecosystems that you all know and love, specifically going over the Hedera ecosystem today. As always, bringing you all some of the realest information. You are not going to want to miss any of today's video breakdown. All of today's videos that I'm going to share with you guys are from this year. They're relatively fresh, some within the last weeks, some only a few months old, but all from 2025. So pay attention to detail. So first, we're going to kick off today's video breakdown listening to Sandy Koal, who currently works at Franklin Templeton. Now, she also plays a leading role in large organizations like the World Economic Forum, the CFTC, and the DTCC as of time of recording this video breakdown. So it would behoove you guys to listen here to what she has to say. So take a second and listen.
Yeah, so this is where the exciting part starts to all come together, right? So today I might have a portfolio, and in that portfolio, I might own all sorts of companies, and I get the financial benefit of the appreciation and value of those companies, and I get the financial benefit of any dividends that they might pay, but I don't get much else, right? One of the things that's exciting about the new rails that we're moving on to, if I go back to that earlier concept I was talking about, that I can put a contract inside the asset, right? So now think about I'm buying Amazon stock in my tokenized portfolio, right? Amazon can put a contract inside each share of stock that says, anyone who owns their stock gets a free membership for Amazon Prime, right? So rather than paying $140 a year, I get a free Amazon Prime membership because I own Amazon stock. So that's a nice little benefit. That just saved me $140. I can probably have a nice dinner out on that. Now let's keep taking that concept more forward, right? I now own, shares of Tesla in my portfolio, right? Well, maybe when I go into a Tesla dealer, I'm going to be able to get the friends and family discount on my purchase of a new Tesla. This is already the case with Ford Motor Company in the US, but people don't know that, and it's hard for them to prove that they own those shares of Ford stock. But if Tesla is tokenized and it's sitting in my wallet, I can just pull up that token. It will have the contract embedded in it. There will probably be a QR code. And when I show it to my Tesla dealer, they're going to honor that discount for me on my new Tesla. Well, that's probably a savings of several $1,000s, right? Now take that even further, right? I am looking at, really being able to bring in ownership of a big insurance company, right? I now own stock in one of the big insurance companies. And when I go to negotiate my next insurance contract with them, be it life insurance or home insurance, maybe I start to get a discount or a preferential rate on that insurance policy because I'm a owner of that company's stock. So each of these benefits start to add up so that the way I live day to day, I'm getting rewards from being an investor that today I don't get, right? I get rewards today if I hold a credit card, but I don't get rewards if I am an investor. And so being able to embed all of these contracts and have this be a self-executing system, right, makes that super easy for me to start to really provide people the benefit of how they live through what they own in their portfolio.
So I just wanted you guys to hear in a nutshell what she's talking about, this new on-chain environment that we are headed into, these new rails, right? She's specifically talking in this example about tokenized stocks. This is groundbreaking, and a lot of people don't understand that this is happening right now in real time. We are at a major turning point in the digital asset ecosystem where all the speculative hype and all the outrageous, crazy price predictions that have existed prior to 2025 lingering in this space are really about to materialize in the next 2 to 5 years as we head into 2030. Now is not the time to ignore your education. Now is the time to start to learn how to incorporate this new digital ecosystem into your investment schematic and your everyday life, because it is going to matter in the coming months/years. Now, don't take that from me that we are at a tipping point. Here is a gentleman, a representative from KeyRock. KeyRock is a market maker in the digital asset ecosystem. And listen to him tell you guys on an interview that just took place a couple of months ago, has 79 views. Listen to him tell you guys that this is happening, and it's happening right now.
Why did you feel like now was the time to do so?
Well, I think the main reason is that, so KeyRock, we started in 2017, already back then, so 7 years ago, we were saying, eventually all assets will be digital. And, I think that's been kind of a recurring song that came back, every year, that accelerated a bit with DeFi summer, then deflated somewhat. And then what we're seeing is that we are now really at a tipping point where, the different necessary pieces of the puzzle. So not only, of course, the technology, the infrastructure, but also the regulatory framework, which allows, greater and greater institutional involvement. But we're seeing that all those different pieces are actually there now, which is really bringing us to a tipping point. And I think the purpose of this report is really to inform, is that this is not about a theoretical shift anymore. It is happening. It is happening with some of the largest institutions in the world. It's happening not only on stable coins, not only on T-bills, but also on private credit, also on equities. We are seeing the shift, and the purpose is to really inform the market about how concrete this shift is, and of course being there to support. It is in our interest as a market maker, as a liquidity provider, as an investment firm, to really see this market grow. We believe that crypto as it is today is just a proof of concept and will eventually encompass all traditional markets. And the purpose of this market is to showcase that we are now at this tipping point, because basically all the different elements are starting to be there.
So you just heard confirmation from a market maker in the digital asset space tell you guys at a recent panel discussion that this is happening. We are seeing this shift now, where all the speculative hype that took place, it's now concrete, and it's now really starting to materialize, where we're seeing the regulatory environment he specifically mentioned shift, that is going to allow institutions to really onboard into this digital asset ecosystem at scale. And we are seeing that play out in real time, which leads me to this fundamental. Shout out to the CYPRX researchers for sharing this one in the Discord. This is from August 15th, 2025. The Hedera Foundation today announced a strategic collaboration with Swarm, a real-world asset protocol, to launch tokenized stocks on the Hedera network. With this launch, equities like Apple, Tesla, and MicroStrategy will be made available on-chain, which are backed one-to-one and solvency-protected, DeFi compatible, and accessible to both retail and institutional investors. Issued under Swarm's approved EU prospectus regulation, this marks a major step in bridging TradFi with DeFi. This is huge. Down here at the bottom, Hanaya Othman, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, director of financial markets and sustainability at the Hedera Foundation, said, "We choose to work with Swarm because of their regulatory credibility and technical readiness to make tokenized stocks usable across DeFi. This integration will unlock sophisticated financial applications across the Hedera ecosystem." Now, I can't even express enough how important it is now for you guys to really start to pay attention and lock in with your education and stop thinking that DeFi is a scam, especially if you want to survive in this digital asset ecosystem between now and beyond 2030. You have to stop thinking so small-minded, and you have to really expand your horizon and understand the opportunities that are going to become readily available to us as your everyday average retail investor to operate on this level playing field with institutional investors. As you guys can see here, these services are available to both retail and institutions. This is not a game anymore where you can just think that you're going to make it long-term by buying, hodling, and hoping for the best. This is going to take strategy. It's going to take strategic positioning, and it's going to really take education on your behalf to really get you to where you want to be between now and 2030. And things like this are things that you should not ignore, and that is generating yield on your digital assets, having other assets constantly working for you, compounding that yield, earning rewards. As you guys heard the lady from Franklin Templeton, Sandy, say that now we're entering into an era where everything should be working for you. You should be earning rewards on a day-to-day basis that help out your daily life, right? And that is all becoming a reality. So don't take that again from me. Listen to this industry leading expert mention to you guys why you should start to pay attention to DeFi and why this matters now, why you should not ignore this shift.
There's a interesting article by Andreas Park and Katarina Malinova. And what they basically did, super interesting, they said, okay, what would happen if we would take some of the DeFi primitives and we would run the US stock market on top of it? And what they find is on the slide, there's billions and billions of dollars that actually could be saved by replacing some of the legacy technology with DeFi. Now, that is a reason for all of us to pay a little bit of attention, I think.
Now, that is a reason for all of us to pay a little bit of attention. And I've already shown you guys examples of an industry leading expert from Franklin Templeton telling you all that this is going to happen. Then hearing from Keyrock, a market maker in this digital asset ecosystem, telling you guys that this is happening. Then showing you guys a live example from August in this year from Hedera, showing you all that this is happening in real time. This gentleman here is telling you guys why DeFi matters now. Why pay attention? Because we are at an early stage in this digital asset adoption curve, and this is going to play a role in the future. Regardless if you are on board or not, it will happen with or without you. So why not participate? Participate with your education, right? And that requires you to constantly learn, constantly digest valued content like the stuff that we provide here at CYPRX. And if you don't know where to find all this stuff at, head over to CYPRXtrading.com. You guys have our Discord. You guys have the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club to keep you all in the loop with information like this so you can stay ahead of the curve. Now, again, here is another example of another industry-leading expert on stage from a recent panel discussion only 2 months ago, telling you all exactly what is about to take place, how everything is about to come on chain.
Yeah, and Anthony, you said that there. Everyone wants a single or consolidated digital interface to interact with all of their assets, I would say. And I think, I don't want to butcher the number, but I think before the Bitcoin ETFs were approved, something like 94% of all crypto buying was millennials and Gen Z. And like things move more digital, right? They're not going to move backwards. They're not going to get less digital as wealth transfers from the boomer side over to millennials, Gen Z, younger than that. I don't even know what the next one is. But it'll all be more and more digital. And the importance of having, tokenized stocks, individual loans, Bitcoin, crypto generally, and other assets in one interface, unlocking it with the power of DeFi for kind of, 24/7 access, let's call it, and real precise management is huge. And I think that's the real macro value driver that a lot of people kind of miss. They don't think about that. They think about products standalone, not the broader trend of, hey, every asset's going to get managed in this way, one way or another.
Every asset's going to get managed in this way, one way or the other. And it's important that we pay attention. Now, what I want you guys to specifically fixate your attention on is how he mentioned this wealth transfer. It's not only us as retail investors that need to be paying attention to this shift, but these institutions know for a fact that if they do not adopt these technologies and integrate things like crypto into their core infrastructure, that they are going to risk falling behind. So here is a video breakdown to back that ideology, where on stage from a recent Crypto Valley event, you had an individual representative from Cantonal Bank and an individual representative from Beran EDB that went on to confirm this exact same thesis. Take a second here and listen.
Just as any other asset as collateral or for lending or for any other purpose you would use other assets for.
I would just want to add as well. I think banks, the conversation is no longer should we, bank with digital assets. That's not the case. It's more of what should we do to compete with other banks that are banking with digital assets. And I think that's what's very unique. And we see that in conversations. I mean, today, for instance, I'm here with my colleagues at the EDB. We have Bahrain FinTech Bay, our ecosystem developer, and we have a local bank as well, BBK here. So you see, it's no longer oh, should we not? It's how can we be creative and capture as much digital assets to service our clients, and clients actually demand it. And I think that goes back to, you mentioned who are your clients. It's the young population, and we have very young demographic, so they really would want to widen their investment pool and their banking services as well.
Maybe to add to that, the younger generation, I think the question is not if a bank will lose. I think it's a yes if you don't offer anything in that space. And the question, everybody's free to have their opinion on crypto as of now, right? And I know there are different opinions to that topic, but where we all should agree, and that's a fact, is there will be a generational shift in wealth over the next 15 years, amounting to $80 trillion US. That's now going into Gen Y, Z, and X, right? And these generations, they are not used to opening hours, for example. They can buy clothes 24/7 on Zalando. They order their food online. They do everything is online, right? And why should they pay a fee for a bank account, for example, if they can open up a wallet in no time, as many as they want? So the question is not if they should offer it, but the question should be, what's the business model of a bank in the future, right? And as of now, it's offering services, products, whatever. But I think in the future, it will shift to much more in an enabling or a gateway role, where banks allow people to interact with financial services, whether it's their own, the bank services, or from others, right? So they act as a gateway there. Yeah. And there, the technology, it probably will be blockchain technology, I guess, is a necessity. So you need to start now to really build your future model for your future client.
So there you go. You have another industry leading expert on stage saying that you need to start now. It's not a matter of if anymore, is a matter of when. And these financial institutions that don't offer these products risk falling behind. Now, I have two remaining video breakdowns, an industry leading expert from Fidelity and another gentleman on stage going to talk about the shift in the regulatory environment that is going to allow all of this to take place. So I'm going to play these last two video clips back to back. If you're enjoying this thorough research so far, showing you guys the devil's in the details, that now's the time for you to be paying attention, to lock in, to not be distracted from the mainstream hype and the crypto, outrageous bull crap that takes place that spikes your dopamine. Instead, fixate your attention on blue chip digital asset projects that are building out this infrastructure right now in the moment. For example, today I showed you Hedera. I'm not telling you guys to go out there and buy HBAR, but pay attention to these narratives, right? Pay attention to these shifting real world asset narratives, tokenization of stocks, trillions of dollars coming on chain. And who is at the forefront of this? It is not hard to see. Hedera is one of those players. Again, not financial advice, but go do your own research. I'm here to show you guys that is happening in real time, and that you should not be ignoring this type of educational process. With that being said, I'll play these last two video clips. If you've enjoyed this so far, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. Let's roll this, where these two industry leading experts go on to talk about how the regulatory environment is shifting in order for this to all really take place at scale.
I think the idea of native issuance of tokens on chain is not as far off as we might think it might be. I think that is a reality. I think where we've seen guidance come out from the SEC in just the last week, recognizing the ability for transfer agents to be able to maintain records on chain, that is tremendous in being able to move us forward and being able to leverage new structures for capital formation on chain, which then will lead to more efficient native issuance on chain. The clarity coming from the regulatory environment is also going to help the institutional participants to build that infrastructure necessary to be able to bring those assets into their back offices and be able to process those assets, digital assets, and the traditional assets side by side. I think that is part of the next phase of this integration as we move more and more assets and transactions on chain.
And why everyone's in this room now and why we're so pumped on tokenization. Thomas, why do you think it is different this time, and what are you excited about?
Yeah, so I'm excited for really the convergence of all things retail with the tokenization offerings that I think we're going to see TradFi really engage with. And what I mean by that is with the ETFs that we've seen, last year really brought exposure to the retail side that we hadn't seen previously. And then this year, I think we're really going to see the power of tokenization demonstrate what it can do for traditional financial assets. And we've already seen it with stablecoins. We're increasingly seeing it with tokenized money market funds. And I think over the next year or two, we're really going to see that transformation happen with on-chain debt and private credit and the like, just because it's a more efficient way to service debt, to distribute debt, and to just demonstrate the transparency that the technology can have. So I think we're going to increasingly see those two worlds that right now are quite separate increasingly overlap more and more to kind of demonstrate that overlap. And pretty excited to see how that unfolds over the next maybe 2 or 3 years. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those classic examples of, the technological S curve where it'll feel like nothing's happening and then all of a sudden it happens all at once. And I think we're going to see right now a lot of traditional financial institutions are increasingly more and more interested in Bitcoin and Ethereum and other digitally native asset exposure, just because a lot of the on-chain lending rates are much higher on-chain than off-chain. So that'll be like a lot of the catalyst for TradFi institutions to jump in. And then I think a lot of the time they'll see that the underlying technology really has matured to a point where it can be utilized for RWAs. And so that transition from crypto native products to RWAs, I think, we're in the early stages of it, and it'll rapidly speed up when we get regulatory clarity over the next 18 months or so.
So take into consideration what this gentleman said 2 months ago, that over the next 18 months, we're going to see a massive regulatory shift that is going to provide a tailwind for the digital asset ecosystem and real-world asset tokenization for TradFi and DeFi to really merge. So paint yourself a realistic expectation based off of what individual leading experts with valid credentials are saying to you guys in the space. I've done my due diligence here for you guys, showing you guys the devil's in the details. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe if you all enjoyed this video breakdown. I personally enjoyed putting it together for you guys. As always, bringing you all some of the realest information in the game. I will see you guys in the next video.